The Chief of Police, John Crowley, myself, and Ward 2 City Councilor Tom Monahan just completed a meeting in my office to review somewhat the events of last evening, and more importantly, to bring forward our response to the tragic incident that occurred last night at the James Edgar Playground. First, I think it's important that on behalf of the city and all of the city officials, we express that our thoughts and sympathies are with the family of the victim of last night's incident, and that the city will be here to support them in any way that we can now and in the future. You know, I'm outraged at the violence that took place on the grounds of the playground last night, but I think it's important to really outline the facts of where we are in terms of the neighborhood and in terms of the park and playground. Last year, we reopened and rededicated that playground after making about a $750,000 investment. And that was funded by a lot of grant money that Councilor Monahan and former Councilor Petty led the way on, and we joined them as our administration came in. But I think it was a very important day for that neighborhood when we did reopen that playground last year. And the playground and the park have been a huge success since their reopening. In the warm weather months, on a daily basis, we have hundreds of people utilizing all of the facilities down there in the middle of an inner city neighborhood. And just to give you some sense, last summer, we sponsored 2 or 3 outdoor concerts there. We hosted an event for mayors visiting from Cape Verde. Our American Legion Post 35 baseball team plays its games there. It truly, our investment in the park has been paying off in it doing exactly what we wanted it to do, and that is to reestablish and reclaim the ownership of the open spaces, green spaces in this city. The parks and the playgrounds belong to families and children. They do not belong to thugs and criminals, and we will not accept anything less than that. In terms of specifically last night's incident, I think it's important that I clarify some misinformation that has been out in the media since last night, and also on social media. First of all, police presence or lack thereof was not a factor in any way, quite the opposite. We had a substantial police presence in that immediate area, both before and at the time of the altercation. Our motorcycle patrols, which just came back on the road, Chief, about a week or so ago, were just deployed back about a week or so ago for the warm weather months, have been making routine patrols through that park and playground regularly, afternoons and evenings. And in fact, we had a couple police motorcycles rolled through, right through that part of the park minutes before the altercation occurred. In addition to that, almost immediately after the altercation occurred, the state police were there also. The state police gang unit was on site as part of their regular proactive patrols, not in response to the event. So we had a police presence immediately before and again during the altercation. And then once the call came out, there was an immediate response, an immediate, very fast response by the Brockton Police Department. All officers across the city immediately deployed to that area. And the area was secured very quickly. So there was a significant police presence there within minutes of the incident. And so any that feel as though perhaps the police are not patrolling the park, it's quite the opposite. When we opened that park and playground last year, we committed a tremendous amount of additional resources to making sure that we had a safe, secure environment there. It's also been reported that there were 100 teenagers or hundreds of teenagers involved. Not the case. We had over 100 teenagers at that park and playground, using it for the intentions for which it's designed, that were there at the playground. They witnessed an altercation. They were not part of the altercation. The altercation was a small group of individuals, and I can't give you an exact number, but it was a small group of individuals that were involved in the altercation in the immediate vicinity of over 100 teenagers who attention was immediately drawn and who witnessed what happened but were not participants in what happened. I think it's also important to note, I think somewhere I heard reported that this was a basketball game that turned into an altercation. That also is not accurate. The altercation began at the basketball court, but to say that it was a basketball game that turned into an altercation is just not true. The individuals involved in the altercation were not at the park and playground for the reasons for which it's intended. The large crowd was a crowd that was already existing there of young people who are taking advantage of what the park and the playground has to offer. Nonetheless, we are not sitting back and just idling, accepting this or writing this off in any way. The chief and the city council and I have just spent some time reviewing with the chief additional response and additional resources that we will allocate to that neighborhood and to that park and playground area to ensure that the 99% of the good people who live in this city feel safe and comfortable to come down and use that beautiful facility. Chief, do you want to address specifically some of the? Sure. I mean, go ahead. I'm going to allow the chief to speak specifically about police resources, and then I'll have a couple of other comments and I'll take questions.
I would just say, as a result of yesterday's tragic incident, we have increased an already active patrol area. That's a priority, that area. We were always there. As a result of that, we'll increase our walking beats. We'll have additional motorcycle patrols there along with bicycles. The community police officers in that area will be out and about and meeting with the people. The park is a priority, and we want it to be safe for all the citizens of Brockton to enjoy.
So the residents in that neighborhood will see a noticeable increase over and above what we've been doing down there. So the motorcycles will be through more frequently. We're bringing a walking beat down there. We have a community policing officer assigned to that neighborhood, and that spot will be manned 7 days a week. There'll be an officer assigned to the area. We'll run additional cruiser patrols out of that area. And also, as part of our meeting with the City Council of Monaghan and with the Chief, a couple of other changes. I have directed our IT department, working with the police department, to install video surveillance cameras as quickly as we can get them there. There is a little technology involved, but we will have remote wireless cameras in that park, and every square inch of that park and playground will be under video surveillance as quickly as we can make that happen. Typically, we don't always tell the public where we may be putting cameras, but in this case, we're making it very clear. We want the public to know that that park and playground will be under video surveillance 24/7. We also want to reemphasize to the families in the neighborhood and the people here in this city that we should not let this one isolated incident that took place dispel us from continuing to use that park and playground in the manner that we have for the past almost year now since it reopened. And to that extent, Councilor Monaghan, Chief Crowley, and myself on Sunday, May 17th, will host a neighborhood block party there at the park. And we're going to invite all the neighbors and residents in the area. We'll have music, we'll have food. We'll do it on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we'll make it very clear that the park belongs to the good people of the city, and we will not tolerate illegal activity at that park or playground or any other park or playground in the city.